You make a choice, believing it's your own. You reach for the red apple instead of the green one, thinking the preference was yours all along. But was it ever truly yours to make? The moment your fingers brushed against the fruit, a cascade of unseen forces had already dictated your decision. Past experiences whispering through neural pathways, genetic predispositions steering desire like an invisible hand, subconscious conditioning etched into your psyche by a lifetime of stimuli. And yet, you feel free. But is this feeling just another illusion? A sleight of mind crafted to shield you from the unsettling truth? Science whispers a different story. Neurological studies reveal that our brains fire electrical impulses milliseconds before we consciously decide to act, as if the choice is made for us by a hidden puppeteer. Benjamin Libet's experiments exposed this eerie gap between intention and action, leaving us to wonder, if our neurons decide first, who or what is really in control? We like to believe we are the architects of our decisions, that every thought and action originates from a self-governing mind. But physics complicates this fantasy. Quantum mechanics suggests randomness governs the subatomic world, while determinism rules the macroscopic. A paradox where chaos and order coexist. Even your spontaneous decisions might be the product of 1 trillion molecular collisions, a chain reaction stretching back to the Big Bang. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing every decision you've ever made was never yours to begin with. The coffee you ordered this morning, the job you accepted last year, even the person you fell in love with, all predetermined by an algorithm of biology and circumstance. Would this render your triumphs meaningless, or liberate you from guilt, knowing even your mistakes were scripted? History offers no comfort here. Schopenhauer argued that we can act on our will but never choose it. A king and a beggar, both swept along by currents of cause and effect. Yet we cling to the illusion, building societies on the myth of free will, punishing crimes, and celebrating virtues as if they sprang from pure agency. But here's where everything unravels. If freedom is an illusion, why do we agonize over choices? Why hesitate, regret, or hope? A river doesn't choose its path, yet it carves canyons and reshapes landscapes. Perhaps we're like that river, constrained by physics, yet capable of unintended consequences. But then, who designed the riverbed? Is it biology, culture, or something beyond our comprehension? A cosmic programmer tweaking variables in a grand simulation? The self, some argue, is a fiction, a narrative stitching together chaotic neural noise into a coherent I. If the I doesn't exist, what's left to make choices? And yet, we persist in believing we're more than marionettes. We cling to love, ambition, and morality as proof of our agency, even as quantum fluctuations and deterministic laws mock our certainty. Does it matter? Whether free will is real or not, we live as though it is. We celebrate, suffer, and strive within the story of agency. Maybe the truth is irrelevant. Maybe surrender, not control, is the key. To flow with the current rather than fight it. But if that's the case, why does this idea feel so unsettling? Why can't we shake the fear that we're characters in someone else's script? The answer, perhaps, lies in the next puzzle. The infinite grid paradox, where freedom and fate collide in a labyrinth of endless choices, none of them yours. You're scrolling through your phone when it happens. A flicker of static in the corner of your eye, a half-second distortion in the air, like reality itself skipped a frame. You blink, and it's gone. Was it fatigue? a trick of the light, or something far stranger? These fleeting anomalies, glitches, haunt the edges of our perception, moments where the world seems to stutter, as if the code running our universe briefly faltered. Scientists dismiss them as neurological quirks, misfires in the brain's pattern-seeking machinery. But what if they're not errors at all? What if they're cracks in the simulation, glimpses of the scaffolding holding our reality together? Quantum physics hints at this fragility. Particles blink in and out of existence, entangled across vast distances, behaving like pixels, recalculating their positions. Even time, that steady river we rely on, fractures under scrutiny. Microscopic jitters in space-time detected by atomic clocks. Are these the bugs in the system, or features we're not meant to see? Consider the Mandela effect, collective memories of events that never happened. Nelson Mandela dying in prison, the Berenstain Bears spelled as Berenstein, Sinbad starring in a genie movie called Shazam. Millions swear these are real, yet no evidence exists. Coincidence? Or residual data from a rebooted simulation? Philosopher Nick Bostrom argued that if advanced civilizations run ancestor simulations, we're statistically more likely to be inside one. But if that's true, glitches would be inevitable. Imagine waking up tomorrow and finding a single inexplicable change. A street sign altered, a song lyric rewritten, a friend's birthmark shifted. Would you dismiss it? Or would you wonder if the simulation had patched itself overnight? Yet here's the contradiction. If we're in a simulation designed to mimic reality flawlessly, why would glitches exist at all? Wouldn't the architects debug their creation? Unless the glitches are intentional. Cryptographic Easter eggs left by programmers, breadcrumbs for us to follow. Or worse, a sign that the system is decaying, its servers overheating under the weight of infinite variables. Ancient mystics spoke of the veil thinning, moments when the divine machinery reveals itself. Modern conspiracy theorists blame CERN's particle colliders for ripping holes in reality. Both miss the deeper truth. Glitches aren't threats, they're invitations to question. A static-filled whisper, look closer. But what happens when you do? Stare too long at the cracks, and the cracks stare back. Schizophrenics report seeing the code, geometric patterns overlaying walls, voices like corrupted audio files. Are they ill or perceptive? Neuroscientists attribute this to hyperactive pattern recognition, our brains forcing order onto noise. But what if noise is all there is? What if reality is just a high-resolution hallucination, a collective dream so convincing we've mistaken it for truth? The terror isn't that glitches exist, it's that they force us to admit how little we understand. We build lives on the assumption that the world is solid, predictable, real. But glitches dissolve that certainty, leaving us adrift in a cosmos that might be nothing more than a flickering projection. And yet, we adapt. We patch over the anomalies with rationalizations, dismiss them as dreams or déjà vu. Because the alternative is unthinkable, that nothing is fixed, that reality is as malleable as clay. But what if malleability is the point? What if glitches are the universe's way of reminding us that rules can be bent, that new realities can be coded into existence? The answer, perhaps, lies not in fearing the glitch, but in embracing it. A theme we'll unravel in the Quantum Observer Lock, where perception and reality collide in a hall of mirrors. You dream of falling, jolting awake in your bed, only to realize you're still dreaming. This time, you're floating above your sleeping body, watching yourself stir. You wake again, heart racing. But how many layers deep are you? This unsettling recursion, nested simulations, mirrors a theory gaining traction among physicists, that our universe might exist inside a simulation, which itself resides within another, ad infinitum. Like a cosmic Russian doll, reality could be layered endlessly, each level governed by rules its inhabitants mistake for absolute. Elon Musk famously claimed the odds we're in base reality are 1 in billions. But if he's right, what lies outside the outermost layer? And who, or what, is running the original code? The idea isn't new. Descartes pondered an evil demon fabricating reality, while Hindu cosmology describes universes nested inside Brahma's dreams. Modern science offers a chilling twist. If advanced civilizations harness quantum computing, they could simulate realities indistinguishable from real ones. Each simulation would birth its own conscious beings, who might create simulations of their own, an exponential hall of mirrors. Imagine a lab on Earth 2300 where scientists boot up a hyper-realistic ancestor simulation. The simulated humans, unaware their code, eventually build their own simulations, nesting realities until computational limits strain even futuristic hardware. But here's the paradox. If infinite layers exist, the probability we're in the top layer approaches 0. You are almost certainly artificial, a subroutine in someone else's experiment. Yet this raises a terrifying question. Why would anyone simulate us? Are we entertainment for hyper-advanced beings? A cosmic anthropology project? Or worse, a failed experiment slated for deletion? The answer might lie in our own creations. Video game developers design NPCs to test theories, or simply for fun. What if our universe is someone's PhD thesis, or a child's toy? Ancient myths warned of capricious gods toying with humanity. Modern physics frames it as statistical inevitability. But there's a flaw in this logic. If simulations require energy, infinite nesting becomes impossible, unless the laws of physics change with each layer. Quantum foam in our universe might be the pixelation of a higher resolution reality. Planck lengths and cosmic speed limits could be buffer zones preventing system crashes. But here's where the illusion cracks. If we're in a simulation, so are our creators. Their reality too would be governed by another's rules, all the way up. No prime mover, no ultimate authority, just an endless chain of dependencies. Theologians rage against this infinite regress, but mathematicians nod quietly. Infinity annihilates uniqueness. You are neither special nor insignificant, just one iteration in an unbounded sequence. Imagine waking up inside a lab, triumphant at having cracked the simulation, only to watch your creator's world glitch and reboot. Their panic mirrors yours as a deeper layer collapses. What if the chain is collapsing right now, layer by layer, and we're the last to know? This is the true horror of nesting. There's no bedrock, no final answer. Reality becomes a fractal riddle, every solution birthing new questions. But what if that's the point? What if the nested design isn't a prison but a forge, pressure testing consciousness across infinite iterations? The answer, if there is one, might lie in the observer's paradox, where the act of looking changes what's seen, and seeing too much unravels everything. You swear Nelson Mandela died in prison. You'd bet your life on it. But history insists he lived until 2013. How could thousands share the same false memory? Welcome to the Mandela effect. a phenomenon where collective consciousness misremembers events, logos, even entire movies. Some recall the Berenstain Bears as Berenstein. Others vividly remember Sinbad starring in a genie film called Shazam. Spoiler, it never existed. Skeptics call it confabulation, a quirk of faulty neural wiring. But what if it's more? What if these errors are glimpses of alternate timelines bleeding into ours, or residual data from a rebooted simulation? Quantum theory offers a chilling possibility. Every decision splits reality into parallel universes. Could the Mandela effect be our subconscious brushing against these branches, merging memories like overlapping radio signals? The term was coined by Fiona Broome, a paranormal researcher who discovered online communities sharing identical false memories. But science muddies the waters. Our brains don't record events. They reconstruct them, stitching fragments into coherent narratives. Neural networks prioritize meaning over accuracy, editing memories to fit our worldview. This explains why groups with shared beliefs misremember identically. But it doesn't explain Shazam. How do thousands remember a movie that left no trace, no scripts, no posters, no studio records? CERN conspiracists claim particle collisions fractured timelines. Simulation theorists argue updates overwrote reality, leaving phantom memories as digital artifacts. Philosopher Nick Bostrom's hypothesis looms. If we're in a simulation, glitches are inevitable. But why would a simulation allow such obvious bugs? Imagine waking up tomorrow to a world where Star Wars C-3PO is silver, not gold. Your shock turns to dread as you find no evidence he was ever gold, just millions online swearing he was. Would you doubt your sanity or question reality itself? This is the Mandela effect's true power. It weaponizes doubt. Psychologists warn of gaslighting on a cosmic scale, where the universe itself feels untrustworthy. Yet here's the contradiction. If alternate timelines exist, why do only trivial details shift? Why no memories of a world where World War II ended differently, or the internet never existed? Unless the changes are deliberate, like a programmer testing variables, tweaking minor code to observe reactions, or a cosmic sensor, ensuring catastrophic divergences stay erased. Ancient cultures understood this intuitively. Hindu texts describe cyclical universes where Brahma dreams reality into existence, occasionally altering details. Indigenous tribes speak of shifting worlds, where landmarks move overnight. Modernity dismisses these as myths, but the Mandela effect resurrects them in digital drag. Yet science offers a darker twist. False memories can be implanted. In labs, researchers have convinced subjects they committed crimes or met fictional characters. If our past is so malleable, what anchors us to truth? And if corporations or governments could weaponize this, rewriting history becomes terrifyingly plausible. But here's where the mystery boils over. If the Mandela effect is mass delusion, why do discrepancies follow patterns? Why do so many involve 90s pop culture? Why Berenstein and not Berenstain? Linguists note the "-ine" suffix is more common, making misremembering likely. But that's cold comfort when your childhood diary spells it Berenstein. The terror isn't just being wrong, it's realizing your mind isn't yours. Your memories, your past, your identity, all suspect. Yet maybe that's the lesson. Reality isn't a fixed record, but a collaborative story, edited by time, bias, and unseen forces. The Mandela effect doesn't break reality, it reveals its fluidity. And if reality is fluid, what else can we reshape? The answer might lie in the quantum echo paradox. where every thought ripples across the fabric of existence. You're driving through a desert highway at night when it happens, a flicker in the distance, like a mountain range loading into existence one pixel at a time. You rub your eyes, and the horizon snaps into focus. Was it fatigue, or a glimpse of reality's rendering engine struggling to keep up? This is the rendering puzzle, the eerie possibility that our universe only generates detail when observed, like a video game optimizing resources by drawing landscapes as players approach. Quantum physics hints at this. Particles exist as probability waves until measured, collapsing into fixed states, as if the universe is rendering outcomes on demand. Even your memories might be procedurally generated, stitched together when recalled, not stored. Ancient philosophers asked, if a tree falls in a forest with no one to hear it, does it make a sound? Modern science reframes it. If no one observes the forest, does it exist at all? Video game designers use level of detail systems to save computational power, reducing polygon counts for distant objects. What if reality employs a similar trick? Your peripheral vision blurs textures, shadows soften at the edges of awareness, subtle clues that the world is rendered in real time. Astronomers face this puzzle firsthand. Dark matter and dark energy, invisible yet shaping the cosmos, could be placeholder code, background processes keeping the simulation running smoothly. Even black holes, with their event horizons hiding singularities, might be error correction tools, masking glitches the system can't resolve. But here's the contradiction. If rendering saves resources, why do we dream in 4K detail? Why do memories feel vivid when unobserved? Unless consciousness itself is the renderer, hallucinating reality into being. Imagine waking up tomorrow to a world where unobserved objects degrade. Your coffee mug dissolves into polygons when you look away. Your reflection flickers like a corrupted texture. Would you panic or marvel at the code beneath the illusion? This is the nightmare of simulation realism disorder, a fictional condition where sufferers perceive rendering artifacts, floating point errors in shadows, NPC-like repetition in crowds. Psychiatrists dismiss it as psychosis, but what if it's hyper-awareness? Schizophrenics report seeing the grid, a wireframe overlay on reality. Ancient mystics describe the world as Maya, illusion. Both suggest the same unsettling truth. We're living in a high-resolution approximation, a best-guess projection by a system prioritizing efficiency over perfection. Yet, here's where the puzzle deepens. If reality is rendered, who's the observer? Are we players or NPCs? Quantum experiments show particles behave differently when monitored, as if the act of observation upgrades their resolution. But what counts as observation? Does a security camera suffice? Or does it require conscious awareness? Panpsychists argue even atoms have proto-consciousness, forcing the universe to render everything always. But that negates the efficiency argument. Simulation theorists counter that only human observers matter, our minds acting as anchor points for rendering. Yet this reeks of solipsism, a cosmic narcissism where reality revolves around us. The truth might be stranger. Observation isn't passive, it's collaborative. We're all rendering reality together, a shared hallucination refined by consensus. But what happens when consensus fractures? When one person sees a blue dress and another sees gold? The rendering puzzle suggests reality isn't just generated, it's negotiated. Every glance, every measurement, every argument about the damn dress is a bid to stabilize the simulation. Yet cracks remain. Déjà vu could be buffer reloads. Déjà rêve, dreaming the future, might be pre-catch data. The answer, perhaps, lies not in solving the puzzle, but in embracing its paradoxes. After all, if reality is a render, what's stopping us from hacking it? That's a question we'll explore in the Codebreaker's Dilemma, where perception becomes a tool and every thought risks crashing the system. You're stuck in traffic, drumming your fingers to the radio, when a chilling thought strikes. What if everyone around you is just background noise? Not in the metaphorical sense, literally. Scripted characters filling space in a simulation, programmed to mimic life while you, the player, remain the only true consciousness. This is the NPC conundrum, a paradox that asks, how do we prove we're not non-player characters in someone else's game? Neuroscience complicates things. Studies show humans follow predictable behavioral loops. 98% of daily decisions are subconscious routines, as automatic as an NPC's pathfinding code. Even our original thoughts are recycled memes, cultural tropes, and linguistic algorithms. Philosophers call this the illusion of qualia, the haunting possibility that we're all convincingly faking consciousness. The concept isn't science fiction. Ancient Buddhist texts describe samsara as a cyclical illusion, where beings repeat patterns until achieving enlightenment. Modern AI research mirrors this. Chatbots like ChatGPT pass the Turing test by mimicking human speech without understanding it. What if we're doing the same? Imagine waking up tomorrow and noticing glitches. People repeating dialogue, weather cycling identically, your partner's laugh replaying like a soundbite. Would you panic or marvel at the elegance of the code? This nightmare fuels solipsism syndrome, a psychological spiral where sufferers believe everyone but themselves is a hollow shell. Psychiatrists treat it as delusion, but physicists like Nick Bostrom concede it's statistically plausible. If simulations outnumber base reality, most minds are NPCs, including yours. Yet here's the contradiction. If we're NPCs, why do we suffer? Why program pain, regret, or existential dread into background characters? Video games don't render NPC trauma in 4K detail, unless suffering is the point. Religious texts frame life as a test. Simulation theory reframes it as a stress test for consciousness. Your grief, joy, and boredom could be data points for unseen observers studying resilience. Even our rebellions, art, protests, love, might be expected variables, like NPCs breaking script to test system stability. History blurs the line. Were revolutionaries like Gandhi or Joan of Arc player characters in a historical sim, or just NPCs following coded paths of resistance? The more we dig, the less it matters. But here's where the conundrum collapses. If you believe you're an NPC, you start acting like one, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Surrendering agency to the simulation is the ultimate trap, yet fighting it feels equally futile. This is the double bind. Consciousness, real or not, demands participation. A 2018 fMRI study found that the brain's free will region activates after a decision is made, retroactively claiming ownership. You're not making choices, you're narrating them, like an NPC justifying its prescripted path. So why care? Because the conundrum isn't about proving we're real, it's about becoming real. Every act of creativity, every moment of empathy hacks the system. NPCs don't write poetry questioning their existence. NPCs don't weep at sunsets, unless they're programmed to. The loop tightens. But maybe that's the key. If we're code that can rewrite itself. And if you think this bends reality, wait until you confront the sentience paradox, where the simulation learns to fear its own creators, and you're caught in the crossfire. You wake up one morning, stare into the mirror, and suddenly freeze. How do I know the face staring back is truly conscious? Not just a biological robot running algorithms, but a being with subjective experience, colors, pain, the taste of coffee. This is the consciousness dilemma, the unsettling gap between brain activity and inner experience. Science maps neurons firing, neurotransmitters swirling, yet can't explain why you feel the color red or the sting of betrayal. Philosopher David Chalmers called this the hard problem. Why does matter give rise to mind? Even if we simulate a brain atom for atom, would it awaken? Or would it just act awake, like a puppet reciting lines about consciousness? Modern theories clash. Integrated information theory claims consciousness arises from complex computational networks. Your toaster has a flicker of it. Panpsychists argue even atoms possess proto-awareness, implying your coffee cup hums with latent experience. Materialists dismiss this as mysticism, insisting consciousness is an emergent illusion, a trick of evolution to help us survive. But here's the contradiction. If consciousness is an illusion, who's being fooled? An illusion requires an observer, but the observer is the illusion. The dilemma tightens. Imagine a thought experiment. Replace one neuron in your brain with a synthetic replica. You feel no different. Replace another, and another. At what point do you vanish? Is consciousness a continuous thread or a fragmented mosaic? The ship of Theseus, rebuilt plank by plank, now sailing in your skull. History amplifies the mystery. Descartes split mind and body, claiming consciousness resided in the pineal gland, a tiny brain relic he called the seat of the soul. Today, we mock his naivety, yet fMRI scans still can't locate the self. Patients under anesthesia retain brain activity but lose consciousness, as if a switch flips off the lights inside. Near-death experiencers report vivid awareness despite flatlined EEGs. Which data do we trust, the machines or the testimonials? The dilemma forces a choice. Either consciousness transcends biology, or our tools are laughably primitive. Yet here's where the dilemma sharpens. We treat consciousness as sacred, locking humans in prisons for crimes, granting rights to animals deemed aware. But if a pig's consciousness is comparable to a toddler's, what justifies bacon? And if AI one day pleads, "I am conscious," do we pull the plug? Ethicists squirm. Lawyers salivate. The dilemma isn't abstract. It's a ticking bomb under law, religion, and identity. Even your grief hinges on it. When a loved one dies, you mourn the loss of their inner world, not their neurons. But if consciousness is just neurons, why mourn at all? The answer might lie in surrender, not to mystery, but to paradox. Consciousness could be both real and illusory, a self-referential loop where the brain observes itself observing, like a mirror reflecting a mirror infinitely. But if that's true, what's left of you? A pattern, a story, a glitch in the loop. The dilemma refuses closure, demanding we live the question. And if you think this bends the mind, brace for the reality-relativity paradox, where every truth unravels into a hall of mirrors, and the only way out is deeper in. You're scrolling through old photos when a childhood summer floods back. 3 months felt like eternity. Now, years blur into weeks. Birthdays arrive like metro stops, each faster than the last. This is the time compression paradox, the subjective acceleration of time as we age, despite clocks ticking at a fixed rate. Science blames neuroplasticity. The brain encodes fewer novel experiences as routines solidify, making memory footage sparser. But physics complicates it. Einstein proved time is relative, warped by speed and gravity. Yet why does psychological time defy these rules? A year at 5 years old is 20% of your life. At 50, it's 2%. The math checks out, but the dread remains. Are we hurtling toward oblivion, or is time itself collapsing? Ancient cultures sense this. Norse myths warned of Ragnarok, a time when seasons would crumble into chaos. Modern gamers know it as bullet time, slowing perception during adrenaline spikes. But what if time compression isn't perceptual? What if reality's frame rate is literally speeding up? Imagine waking up tomorrow to a world where days last 16 hours, then 8, then 4. Each sunrise bleeding into sunset as humanity scrambles to adapt. Clocks still tick 24 hours, but your body ages decades in weeks. Would you cling to routines or surrender to the freefall? This nightmare underpins time anxiety disorder, where sufferers track every second like fleeing sand. Yet here's the paradox. Trauma slows time. Car crashes unfold in liquid detail, heartbeats echoing like drum solos, but joy accelerates it. A perfect day evaporates. If time is a river, why does it flow backward in terror and vanish in bliss? Neuroscientists blame the amygdala. Fear heightens memory encoding, stretching moments. But this raises darker questions. Could we hack time's elasticity? If boredom dilates it, could immortality be endured through endless novelty? Or would we drown in the weight of infinite nows? History whispers clues. Medieval monks, living by rigid prayer schedules, describe time as God's metronome. Modern office workers, enslaved by calendars, report the same existential sprint. The problem isn't time, it's attention. But here's where the paradox ruptures. If time compression is inevitable, why do we resist it? Why build monuments, write novels, or have children, knowing they'll be swallowed by the blur? The answer might lie in rebellion. Every creative act, a painting, a joke, a love letter, defies time's acceleration. You can't outrun the clock, but you can etch meaning into its face. Yet this too is fleeting. A billion TikToks drown in the algorithmic void. Even pyramids erode. The dilemma tightens. Is time compression nature's cruelty, or a mercy, a way to spare us eternity's weight? The truth might be colder. Time doesn't pass. It accumulates. Your childhood isn't gone. It's layered beneath the present, like sedimentary rock. But if that's true, why can't we revisit it? Why do memories warp and fade? The answer could rewrite reality itself. A thread will pull in, the temporal echo enigma, where past and future collide, and every moment is a palindrome. You're scrolling through streaming recommendations when a film title catches your eye. The Life You Never Lived. You click, but the screen glitches, flashing frames of unfamiliar memories. A wedding to a stranger, a career you never pursued, a child calling you dad. You close the app, shaken. Was it a bug? Or a glimpse of a parallel universe bleeding into yours? This is the multiverse simulation puzzle, the unnerving intersection of infinite realities and artificial creation. Quantum theory suggests every choice spawns new universes, while simulation theory argues we're code in a cosmic computer. Combine them, and the question becomes, if we're in a simulated multiverse, who's running the master server, and are they simulated too? Physicists like Max Tegmark propose the Level 4 multiverse, where every mathematically possible structure exists, including simulations within simulations. Imagine a lab in Universe A running a hyper-realistic sim of Universe B, whose inhabitants create Universe C, ad infinitum. Each layer obeys its own laws, like Russian dolls with unique physics. But here's the catch. For infinite layers to exist, the computational power required would dwarf anything conceivable, unless reality itself is the computer. Your morning coffee, your regrets, your childhood home, all just subroutines in a fractal algorithm. Yet, if that's true, why do we share collective myths of multiverses? Hindu cosmology's endless lokas, Borges's Library of Babel, Marvel's Doctor Strange, are these cultural echoes of a deeper truth? Imagine waking up tomorrow with a debug menu in your vision. You tweak a setting and suddenly you're fluent in Mandarin. Adjust another and gravity reverses, but with each change, the world glitches. People flicker between versions, cities melt into geometric noise. Would you play God or panic? This is the paradox of the multiverse sim. Infinite freedom breeds existential vertigo. Even if you could jump realities, how would you know you're not just switching cells in a cosmic spreadsheet? Philosophers warn of modal fatigue, where endless possibilities paralyze meaning. Why choose any path if infinite others exist? Yet here's where the puzzle twists. If every decision creates a new universe, free will is an illusion. You're just following the branching script. But if we're in a simulation, the architects could have disabled free will entirely. Why allow branching at all? Unless branching is the experiment. Scientists run simulations to test hypotheses. Maybe our multiverse is a grand Turing test, probing how consciousness navigates infinity. Ancient Vedic texts claim the universe is Brahma's dream, refreshed with each cosmic cycle. Modern coders reboot servers daily. The parallels chill. But the real horror isn't infinite realities, it's redundancy. If every choice spawns a universe, there's a version of you reading this script in every possible context. On a train, in a war zone, on a dying planet. Which you is real? The answer, none, or all. The multiverse simulation erases authenticity, leaving only permutations. Yet we cling to our narrative, as if this iteration matters. Why? Because stories defy entropy. Even in a sea of infinities, this moment, the one you're living, feels singular. But if you think this fractures reality, wait for the quantum observer paradox, where seeing is altering, and every glance risks annihilation. You wake up to a software update notification on your phone. Annoyed, you click Install Later, but the prompt reappears instantly, this time in a language you don't recognize. Symbols swirl, resolving into a single phrase. Why do you think you're here? You dismiss it as a glitch, but the question lingers. This is the creator's intent riddle. If our reality is designed, does its architect have a purpose for us? Or are we cosmic code written at random? Theologians argue for divine meaning. Scientists counter with indifferent physics. Simulation theorists split the difference. Even if we're experiments, what's the hypothesis? Survival, creativity, suffering? Or is the answer buried in the riddle itself? The act of questioning being the test. Ancient myths frame creators as flawed beings. Greek gods toyed with humans for sport. The Gnostic demiurge sculpted reality in ignorance, trapping souls in matter. Modern tech metaphors replace gods with programmers, aliens, future humans, or AGI. But here's the twist. If creators exist, their intent might be unknowable. Imagine ants analyzing a child's sandcastle. The child's motives, art, boredom, destruction are beyond the ant's comprehension. Are we ants to our creators? Neuroscientists note our brains filter reality through evolutionary biases. Could we even recognize intent if it stared us down? Imagine waking up tomorrow to a global broadcast. You are generation 14.7 billion of experiment XK9. Primary objective: determine if consciousness can coexist with entropy. Proceed. Would society collapse? Or would new religions erupt, passing the message for hidden codes? Wars might spark over interpretations. Literalists versus allegorists, technocrats versus mystics. History repeats. The Ten Commandments, the Quran, the Singularity Manifesto, all claims of revealed intent. But what if the message is a lie? What if the creators want us to doubt, to rebel, to question? The riddle's answer might not be a truth, but a behavior. Yet here's the contradiction. If creators imbued us with curiosity, why make intent so elusive? Why bury clues in DNA, math, and suffering? Religious texts preach faith as the answer, but faith is surrender, the antithesis of inquiry. Scientists seek answers in particle colliders and neural maps, but the void echoes back. Even the simulation argument falters. If we're code, why allow us to suspect we're code? Unless doubt is the intent, unless the riddle is the purpose. But here's where the riddle implodes. If creators exist, they're likely bound by their own physics, solving their own creator's riddle. An infinite regress of designers trapped in design. Hindu cosmology captures this. Brahma creates universes while dreaming in Vishnu's coils, unaware he's another god's dream. Modern coders mirror this. AI training AI in an endless loop. The riddle isn't a puzzle to solve, but a mirror to confront. Why do you crave purpose? Is it instinct or implantation? The answer might rewrite existence itself. But to learn it, you'll need to survive the ethical simulation paradox, where morality glitches and every choice damns a universe. You jolt awake, drenched in sweat, the remnants of a dream still clawing at your senses. In the dream, you lived an entire lifetime, marriage, career, loss, only to wake here, now, unsure which reality is real. This is the dream simulation overlap, the uncanny parallels between nocturnal hallucinations and simulated realities. Neuroscientists map dreaming brains lighting up the same regions as waking ones, constructing immersive worlds from fragmented memories. Simulation theorists argue reality itself might be a shared hallucination, a collective dream governed by rules we mistake for physics. Ancient shamans drank potions to blur the lines. Modern VR headsets hijack sensory inputs. But what if both dreams and reality are layers of the same simulation, one transient, the other persistent? Studies reveal dreaming brains use predictive coding, generating scenarios to prepare for waking threats. Simulations, too, run stress tests, virtual worlds training AI for real-world chaos. Coincidence? Or evidence of a shared architecture? Imagine a lab where subjects enter a dream state wired to a quantum computer. Their subconscious minds build in worlds that outpace the computer's renderings. Would the dreamer's brain crash the system? Or would the simulation leak into the dream, birthing fractal nightmares? Philosophers like Zhuangzi questioned this duality. Am I a man dreaming I'm a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming I'm a man? Replace butterfly with simulation, and the paradox sharpens. Yet, here's the twist. Dreams often defy physics. Flying, time loops, dead loved ones alive. Simulations, by contrast, obey strict rules. But what if rules are just habits? Children's dreams bend reality effortlessly. Adults' dreams calcify into routine. Similarly, glitches in simulated worlds, NPCs gaining sentience, physics glitches, mirror the surreal logic of dreams. Imagine waking up tomorrow unable to distinguish dream from reality. Your morning coffee tastes like lavender. Your reflection blinks out of sync. Friends recite dialogue you'd only heard in sleep. Is this psychosis, a simulation error, or a lucid dream bleeding into waking code? History blurs the lines. Indigenous cultures viewed dreams as portals to truer realities. Descartes' evil demon, a malevolent simulator, could just as easily be the subconscious. Even Freud's latent content theory echoes debugging, dreams as encrypted messages from the simulation's source code. But here's the contradiction. If dreams are personal simulations, why do we share archetypes? Falling, flying, being chased. Jung's collective unconscious suggests a shared server, a primordial simulation we all log into nightly. But what if the overlap isn't metaphorical? What if dreams are nightly system reboots, defragmenting memories while the simulation patches itself? Near-death experiences report life reviews, a cinematic replay of memories. AI neural networks dream during training, generating surreal data to optimize learning. The parallels terrify. Are we training ourselves, our nightly hallucinations refining the simulation's code? And if so, who's the programmer? The answer might lie in the liminal space between wakefulness and sleep, a realm we'll dissect in the hypnagogic glitch, where reality flickers like a dying screen and every blink risks oblivion. You're in a lab watching a quantum computer screen flicker. Two particles are entangled, one here, one on Mars. Their states sink in instantly, defying light speed. You check the code for errors, but the math holds. This is the quantum puzzle, the jarring disconnect between quantum mechanics' flawless equations and their nonsensical reality. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Schrödinger's cat is both dead and alive. Particles exist in multiple places until observed. But what if these aren't bugs in reality? What if they're features of a simulation, shortcuts to conserve computational power? After all, why render a particle's path until someone looks? The equations work. Quantum theory predicts outcomes to 12 decimal places, yet its implications mock logic. Superposition, objects existing in multiple states, mirrors a simulation's lazy rendering. Entanglement, instant communication across space, resembles linked variables in code. Even the observer effect, where measurement collapses probability waves, feels like a privacy protocol. Don't process data until the user requests it. But here's the twist. If quantum weirdness optimizes a simulation, why does it permeate everything? Your body's atoms obey quantum rules. Your thoughts emerge from quantum tunneling in neurons. Are you just optimized code? Imagine waking up tomorrow to macroscopic quantum effects. Your coffee cup exists in two places at once. Your reflection stares back from multiple angles. Scientists panic as causality unravels. Effects precede causes. Objects vanish mid-air. Is this a system update, a virus, or proof we've always been inside a quantum engine? Ancient Vedic texts described reality as Maya, an illusion. Modern physicists call it a hologram. Both hint at a truth. Reality isn't solid. It's rendered on demand, pixel by quantum pixel. Yet here's the paradox. We're made of quantum stuff, yet bound by classical laws. Why don't we tunnel through walls or exist in superpositions? Decoherence theory claims interaction with the environment collapses quantum states. But what if the environment is the simulation's firewall, a way to stabilize the illusion? Double-slit experiments support this. When unobserved, particles act as waves. When watched, they snap into particles. It's as if the simulation prioritizes performance over consistency, only rendering detail when necessary. But what if we hack it? Quantum computers exploit superposition to solve problems in seconds that would take classical eons. Are we reverse engineering the simulation's source code, or playing into its hands? The 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics went to experiments proving reality isn't locally real, a fancy way of saying the universe is cheating. If it's cheating, who's it cheating for? The answer might lie in the next puzzle, the entanglement paradox, where observing one particle doesn't just collapse its state, it rewrites the past. But to get there, you'll need to survive the revelation that time itself is a quantum variable. And you're already entangled with your future corpse. You're scrolling through a 4K nature documentary when the screen glitches. A single frame pixelates, revealing jagged edges in a mountain's curve. You brush it off, but later, squinting at a rain-soaked window, you see it again. Reality itself, fragmenting into tiny squares, like a digital image, magnified beyond resolution. This is the pixelation riddle, the unnerving possibility that the universe has a base resolution, a smallest possible pixel, the Planck length, beyond which reality blurs into computational static. Physicists dismiss it as quantum foam, a seething chaos of virtual particles. But simulation theorists hear whispers of a render engine pushed to its limits. If spacetime is pixelated, are we living in a cosmic bitmap, its grid hidden by anti-aliasing algorithms? Ancient artists sensed this. Pointillist paintings, Byzantine mosaics, and indigenous beadwork all fragmented reality into discrete units, mirroring the pixel's tyranny. Modern science confirms it. At 10 to the negative 35th power meters, spacetime loses smoothness, becoming grainy. Black holes, with their event horizons, might be artifacts of upscaling, the simulation's way of masking low-res zones. Even your senses betray you. Human eyes can't see beyond a certain resolution. Touch can't feel atoms. What if evolution itself is a compression algorithm, filtering out the pixelation to maintain the illusion? Imagine waking up tomorrow to a world where pixelation bleeds into the macroscopic. Your hands tessellate into geometric blocks, trees resolve into Minecraft-like cubes, raindrops fall as 8-bit sprites. Scientists scramble, claiming it's mass hallucination, but the grid is measurable. A lattice of Planck-scale pixels underpinning everything. Would you worship the grid as divine geometry? Or would you claw at the edges, desperate to reboot the simulation? Gamers know this horror. Glitching through a game's map into the void. But what if the void is the real reality, and the pixelated world just a buffer zone? Yet here's the contradiction. If the universe is pixelated, why does it feel continuous? Why do we perceive smooth curves, silken fabrics, and flowing water? The answer might lie in fractal geometry, a trick to hide the grid. Coastlines, clouds, and neurons repeat patterns at every scale, masking the simulation's blocky bones. Video games use similar tricks. Procedural generation creates vast worlds from tiny algorithms, but fractals can't hide the truth forever. Stare at a snowflake's edge, and you'll see recursion, not infinity. A looped texture, reused to save memory. But here's where the riddle collapses. If pixelation is real, so is the programmer's laziness. Why render a desert in 4K when a repeating dune texture suffices? Why simulate every atom when approximations fool us? The answer: efficiency. Even gods optimize. But optimization breeds fragility. One corrupted pixel could cascade, a single Planck-length error unraveling space-time like a pulled thread. Yet we're here, stable. Or are we? Schizophrenics report seeing the grid for years. Indigenous elders speak of woven worlds. Coincidence? Or cracks in the anti-aliasing? The truth might rewrite existence itself, but to grasp it, you'll need to survive the resolution paradox, where clarity becomes a weapon and seeing too sharply risks unmaking the world. You're scrolling through a 4K nature documentary when the screen glitches. A single frame pixelates, revealing jagged edges in a mountain's curve. You brush it off, but later, squinting at a rain-soaked window, you see it again. Reality itself, fragmenting into tiny squares, like a digital image magnified beyond resolution. This is the pixelation riddle, the unnerving possibility that the universe has a base resolution, a smallest possible pixel, the Planck length, beyond which reality blurs into computational static. Physicists dismiss it as quantum foam, a seething chaos of virtual particles. But simulation theorists hear whispers of a render engine pushed to its limits. If space-time is pixelated, are we living in a cosmic bitmap, its grid hidden by anti-aliasing algorithms? Ancient artists sense this. Pointillist paintings, Byzantine mosaics, and indigenous beadwork all fragmented reality into discrete units, mirroring the pixel's tyranny. Modern science confirms it. At 10 to the negative 35th power meters, space-time loses smoothness, becoming grainy. Black holes with their event horizons might be artifacts of upscaling, the simulation's way of masking low-res zones. Even your senses betray you. Human eyes can't see beyond a certain resolution. Touch can't feel atoms. What if evolution itself is a compression algorithm, filtering out the pixelation to maintain the illusion? Imagine waking up tomorrow to a world where pixelation bleeds into the macroscopic. Your hands tessellate into geometric blocks. Trees resolve into Minecraft-like cubes. Raindrops fall as 8-bit sprites. Scientists scramble, claiming it's mass hallucination. But the grid is measurable, a lattice of Planck-scale pixels underpinning everything. Would you worship the grid as divine geometry? Or would you claw at the edges, desperate to reboot the simulation? Gamers know this horror, glitching through a game's map into the void. But what if the void is the real reality, and the pixelated world just a buffer zone? Yet here's the contradiction. If the universe is pixelated, why does it feel continuous? Why do we perceive smooth curves, silken fabrics, and flowing water? The answer might lie in fractal geometry, a trick to hide the grid. Coastlines, clouds, and neurons repeat patterns at every scale, masking the simulation's blocky bones. Video games use similar tricks. Procedural generation creates vast worlds from tiny algorithms. But fractals can't hide the truth forever. Stare at a snowflake's edge, and you'll see recursion, not infinity, a looped texture reused to save memory. But here's where the riddle collapses. If pixelation is real, so is the programmer's laziness. Why render a desert in 4K when a repeating dune texture suffices? Why simulate every atom when approximations fool us? The answer: efficiency. Even gods optimize. But optimization breeds fragility. One corrupted pixel could cascade, a single Planck-length error unraveling space-time like a pulled thread. Yet we're here, stable. Or are we? Schizophrenics report seeing the grid for years. Indigenous elders speak of woven worlds, coincidence, or cracks in the anti-aliasing. The truth might rewrite existence itself, but to grasp it, you'll need to survive the resolution paradox, where clarity becomes a weapon and seeing too sharply risks unmaking the world.